I think books give a nice, warm, cozy, and welcoming feel to home decor. I thought it would be fun to share some Christmas craft ideas using books all the way from ornaments to gift wrap. Hey there, it's Donna. I'm happy to have you join me today. Let's get crafting. I found this cute little book in the children's section at my local thrift store. I thought it was adorable. I love the artwork in it and the little story. And I also love that it's got some little woodland critters in it. I'm just measuring the size of it just to give you an idea of how small this little book is. You can see that I am just flipping through the pages here. I want to make sure that none of the words are going up into that top inside corner. The reason why is because I thought it would be really cool to turn this sweet little book into a keepsake ornament. So this was the only page here that had some words that were kind of closer into the corner. So I'm just measuring how far in those words are. So when I go and punch a hole into this book, I am not going to accidentally poke through all those words. I want to be able to take this book off of the tree and read it to a child that's visiting. You could read that sweet little book or even for yourself. I thought it would just be such a fun little keepsake. So I did use my Big Bite Crop-A-Dile to punch the hole through all the pages. And again, I'm just making sure that they are all good to go. I could always tape that little hole back in place if I accidentally punch through all those words. So for a hanger, I'm using some trim. And I found this really fun one here. It's got green with some different threads through it that are colorful to kind of go with the book. Now, when I started to create my hanger for this, I didn't realize at the time, but this stuff frayed. So I'm quickly tying a knot into it. And I do have to add a little bit of glue to help stop that fraying. You can see how bad it is there on the end. I'm just using my scissors to trim it up, and then I'll go in with some hot glue to stop the fraying. Now, if you didn't want to use hot glue, you could definitely use some wet glue. So I was able to get that all fixed up. Now I'm going to be using this green binder clip to create a tassel. I've got an assortment of some different trims, and all I'm going to do is double it up here, cut it down to size so that it's roughly the length of the book. This part actually doesn't really matter. It's just going to be personal preference. But that piece is my starting point. Now I can lay out some different trims in different lengths, max the length that I have here for me personally, but of course that's going to depend on the look that you're going for, what you would like to do. So I'm just going to trim down all my pieces. So I also mentioned that these trims that I got are from my local dollar store, but there's some packs at Michael's that you can get with assorted trims. It's the same thing, but I was able to get mine in some Christmas colors at my local dollar store. So I have my different trims. I also included some baker's twine. I have my binder clip here, and I just wrapped it around the middle of my trim bundle. And now you're going to need an extra piece of baker's twine. First, I'm just kind of adjusting my different trims just to make sure I've got a look that I like. And then with your twine or string or whatever you're using, you want to wrap it around the bundle at the top near the binder clip. That's going to help hold all of those little twine pieces together. And you see me wrapping that twine around my bundle several times, and now I'm going to just tie it in a basic knot. So you could add a little bow there if you'd like, just to finish that off, but I did decide just to do a knot. So I've got this cute little squirrel button in my stash, again from my local dollar store. I'm just trimming off the back little piece there, and I'm gonna glue that into place instead of putting a bow. I thought this would be a really fun touch to hide that knot, and it will tie in nicely with the cover of our book. a cute little alternative would be a button as well. I also decided that I wanted to add a fun little touch, and I thought I'd go into my stash here, and I found all these little bell garlands. There's 2 different size bells, and I just trimmed off what I wanted to use. Here I'm adding a little bit of wet glue to the end of my baker's twine so I can thread it through one of the bells. That was a suggestion by one of you, the viewers. Thank you for that suggestion. It works really well to stiffen up the end so you can thread things like beads, the bells, buttons, whatever you'd like. Once the glue has set up, I am now going to add my little bells onto the string. So I did get that bell garland from Dollar Tree a couple years ago, but you could use some beads instead, or buttons, whatever you'd like. You can see I've just pushed the bell onto the string, and then I tied it off with a knot. I'm adding another one in kind of closer to the end, and I'm just going to do that on the baker's twine. I found that worked easiest for me, but of course feel free to add it to any of your trims that you have. It's looking really, really cute. So once you've got all that in place, you can then just open up your binder clip and place the clip through the hole of your book and close that up. And that's it. It was a really, really fun and easy project. You can even do this with kids if you'd like. I think this will make a really great gift and keepsake. So I love to use the artwork in books, and this one had some beautiful artwork. It was really fun. I just wasn't crazy about the story in this particular book, so I didn't feel bad about taking the artwork out of this one. So I'm just going to cut this particular image out. I liked it because it was a family out Christmas tree hunting, which is something that my family does every year. And I love the birds in the tree. I thought it was just such a beautiful natural scene. And I'm going to be mounting it to this board. Now you can see I've got a mixed media technique on this board, and I wasn't happy with it anymore, so I decided to use it for this particular project. Yes, it's got some holes in the back, but I'm going to show you how I'm going to use those in a moment. First up, I'm going to be trimming off the excess because there was some overhang. And I'm just going to take my steel ruler, a hard surface, and my craft knife, and I'm going to just trim off all that excess around the image. If you don't want to use a board, you can definitely take an image like this from a book and you can just use a picture frame. I'm going to be using some double-sided tape on the back side of my image, and then I'm going to put it onto the board. If you prefer to use a different type of glue, go right ahead. I just find that with wet glue, sometimes the image from the back side will show through. That's why I decided to use some double-sided tape. So I am making sure that those holes are on the top side of the image on the back there, just lining things up, and then I'm going to press this into place, smoothing out any air pockets. To help kind of incorporate the edges and smooth those harsh edges out a little bit around the edge, I'm going to be using a makeup sponge and some ink, and I'm going to just rub that around the edge. That will help blend in the edge of the board that I have along with the book page just a little bit better. And it will also help to tie in a little bit of that color that's in the picture. So I'm really liking how that looks. Now I'm going to be using some jute twine that's in the same color as that ink pad. I'm tying a knot at each end once I have the length figured out. Just cutting off the tail because I'm going to be pushing the knots into those holes that are on the back side. I figured that would be really good and secure. You can see me pushing those knots in, and then I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more hot glue. Now you don't have to do this part. You can definitely use a proper hanger if you'd like, but I thought this would be a fun touch with the touch of color that ties in with our image as well as the ink that's on the front edge. To To help secure the twine a little bit better, I'm just pulling up on it and adding just a touch of glue to help hold that into place. That will prevent the image from flopping forward, just because the holes are a little bit lower down. But that's it. I think this is a very effective way to use books. I have these old pages from a book that I had altered in a previous video. I'm going to have that video link for you down in the description box below so you can check that out. I'm going to be just measuring it here for you. It was like 5 by 7 approximately. What I'm going to be doing is just folding this up. I wanted it to have like a sturdy feel to it, and I thought the best way to do that would be to fold these pages up, and this will also make it very, very easy for you to do. So I'm going to be creating 2 pages like this. I'm just folding it in thirds, and they're approximately the same size. I'm not being completely exact. I'm just holding up the other one that I've already folded, and then I'm going to just fold according to what I did on the first one, just like here. And I was actually pretty accurate. I was pretty impressed. So that's my first 2 pages. Now I'm going to be taking this half page that I had in my stash, and I'm just going to be folding that up just a little bit, trimming off the excess. Again, this will just help to stabilize the page. I didn't want to use too much glue in this project. I wanted to try and keep it lightweight and also as easy as possible for all of you. Next, I'm just flipping through my pages here, and I'm just going to use a page that doesn't have wording all the way down, folding it in half. That will give me my center line, and then I'm going to cut this page in half. I'm also cutting off any of the white bit that's around the wording. I am also making sure that it is about the width of those bigger pieces that we had previously folded. So now I'm going to cut these 2 pieces in half. So now I have those 2 pieces. I'm just going to cut off the bottom part, so then all you have is words. All right, so here are those first 2 pieces that we had folded up. I'm creating a loop, and I'm going to scrunch up the ends. I should have done this first before I started to play around with it. You want to soften up the paper. This book is over 100 years old, and I was actually quite amazed at how sturdy the paper still is. But you want to soften it because you could see I had created a little bit of a tear there once I was scrunching the 2 tips together. So what I'm going to be doing here is actually creating a bow. So you can see I'm just scrunching both the ends together, creating a loop, and then scrunching those 2 tips together on top of each other. So you can see the loop that I had created. And then we're going to be bringing the 2 pieces together. So you just want to kind of work on this a bit, just again to make sure it's all nice and soft and that the 2 pieces are going to work together nicely. Here I'm laying them on top of each other, and you can see how pretty that's looking together. So now we're going to glue them together. Once you've got those creases all in place, just add a little bit of hot glue, not too much. You don't want it to end up being too bulky. Lay them on top of each other and then squish it together. And then if you need to go back in and add some more hot glue, you can go ahead and add some into the creases and then go ahead and just squish it together again. Make sure, again, you're not being too heavy-handed with the glue because that will create a lot of bulk. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with the second piece. So I have my 2 bow loops created. Now I'm going to layer those 2 pieces on top of each other. You can also see I have my slimmer strip set aside ready to go. I'm just fixing up that tear with a little bit of hot glue. That actually worked really well. So if that happens to you, that's how you can fix it. Now I'm going in and adding some hot glue to the one end of the loop, pushing the other loop on top, and you can see how that has created a nice little bow. To cover that middle section up, I'm going to be using this slimmer strip of paper that we created, and I'm going to wrap it around the middle, trimming off the excess, and then I'm going to glue this into place. We're using some hot glue. Now, I'll be honest, I do not have any specific measurements for these pieces. I just went for it. It's going to depend on the size of your paper and also depend on the size of bow that you want to create. So you can just play around until you get a really, really nice selection of some bows. Okay, our bow needs some tails, right? I've got those 2 strips that we had earlier. I'm going to fold or put them together, fold the one in half, and create a dovetail. Now you don't have to do this part. You could just cut it on an angle or leave it as is or use a decorative scissor on the end. Again, I'm scrunching up the one end to soften it up just to make it a little bit more pliable. And then we can kind of manipulate it a bit to make it look like it is part of this bow. So I am making sure I'm gluing these onto the back side, and you may need to cut this down as needed depending on how long you want your tails to be for your bow. I'm having mine going down up through the bottom, but you can have them coming out the side. Another thing is you can make a whole bunch of these and create a garland of them. I thought that would be really pretty, but I'll show you what I'm going to be doing with mine. So you can see I used a little bit of hot glue and I kind of scrunched up the end on the back side to create a really pretty look. And I'm also trimming things up as needed with my scissors. I am definitely going to be making some more of these. I think they turned out great. I decided to make 2 because I thought you could see how they would look if they were strung together. But I will be showing you how I'm going to be using mine here in a minute. But first up, I grabbed a book of some sheet music. Use whatever sheet music you can find. They are readily available. I see them at the thrift stores or at like charity shops, or I've even seen them at like my local museum always does a yearly fundraiser where they sell books, and somebody was just getting rid of these. They were not in good shape. So I cut these down, and I've got 4 sheets here. And then I'm going to be using this new to me Aleene's glue stick, and I'm going to be gluing the sheets together. So you want to just make sure that you don't add too much glue. You only want to add the glue where you're going to be overlapping your paper pieces. So I added a generous amount, and then I'm going to use a bone folder and I'm smoothing this firmly together. And then you're going to go ahead and add your other 2 sheets, just adding the glue again where the papers are going to be overlapping. So this is how my large sheet of sheet music looks together. Now I'm going to show you what one looks like using some book pages. So again, this is from that same book that I had altered in a previous video. What I decided to do was kind of offset these pages just to create kind of a unique look. So again, I'm just adding the glue where I need it to be, and I'm smoothing it out. You want to make sure you add enough glue so you have some good adhesion. I have in the past not added enough glue using a glue stick, so do be mindful of that. And I'm excited to see how well this particular brand of glue stick does. If you've used it before, let me know down in the comment section. I would love to know how well it has worked for you. So I've got all my book pages together. You can see how it looks here. I think it turned out really well. Now what I've decided to do with all these sheets is use them as gift wrap. I think we can all agree that gift wrap, especially the better quality stuff, can be really expensive. Well, when I started to play around with some of these older papers, I was amazed at how sturdy these papers were holding up. So I'm just going to be wrapping a couple of puzzles here and showing you how easy it is to use just these papers as wrapping paper. If you'd like, you can go in and decorate it with some paint markers to create a pattern, just to add a little bit of color, or you can stamp on it. I decided just to leave mine plain as is. I like that look and will also help to just keep things simple for you as well. I'm just going to use this jute twine that I had got from HomeSense. I really like the look. It goes well with the natural look of this sheet music. All right, so once your package is all tied up, you can then add one of those beautiful paper bows that you made. I'm just going to be using some hot glue to put mine into place. You could also paint the paper. You could give it a little bit of ink or something just to add a touch of color. But yeah, it's so simple. So here I'm going to show you with the book page sheet of paper that I had made. I'm just trimming it down, and you can save those pieces for some other projects. And I was amazed at how well this paper was holding up as well. All right, for this one, I'm going to use this particular trim. Again, I got it from HomeSense. It's from Martha Stewart, and I love the little trees. It'll add just a touch of color, but keep with that natural look that the paper gives this package. With this trim, I am going to be wrapping it around and then trimming it down, and then I'm going to have to hot glue the ends into place. So now all you have to do is add the bow using some hot glue, and that's it. This was such an easy project and is a great way to create your own personalized gift wrap. So I'm going to be using this book. It's actually an Anne of Green Gables book, and I like the red cover to it. I've got this wooden platform. It's actually some leftover packaging that had some embellishments to it. It happens to be the same size as the book. You can see here. You could go with a bigger one if you'd like, or smaller, but I like that it was the same size as the book. I'm opening up the book and I'm going to be placing the platform inside this book. Now, I know some people don't like taking books apart, so this project is going to be for you if you do not want to do that. All right, I'm going to be staining this platform using some walnut stain. I just thought it would look a lot nicer, and then I'm going to allow it to dry well, and then I'll show you what we do next. Okay, so now it's time to decorate our platform. I've got a figurine and some bottle brush trees. You can see I've removed the bases off of the bottle brush trees and added my own. I always like to figure out my placement of things first before I glue everything into place. And once you've got that figured out, you can start to glue all your pieces onto that wood platform. You can see I do not have the platform attached to the book. I thought for a nice little added touch, I would add some moss. This is preserved reindeer moss in the color green, and I'm going to be adding it in layers here. I'm going to go ahead and add some in around that back tree first, add another tree, add more moss, and I'll continue on like that. If you'd like, you could leave it plain, or another thought would be some Spanish moss, or even some faux snow would be pretty too. So now I'm going to add my little figurine here, and you can see that the base of this is snow. So I am going to add a touch of moss to that base just to help blend it in with these moss that we have on the platform. I had shown this project to my daughter, and she thought it looked like the story was actually coming to life. I thought that was such a cool thought. So another added touch is going to be some branches. I'm going to be kind of gluing these in between the trees that we have. I like to add stuff like this just to help to add another natural element to my projects. And I just really love the look that it gives to projects like this. So I thought it would be fun to add a little whimsical touch to this, and that is to use some fairy lights. I'm going to just tuck the strand underneath the book, and then I'm going to just weave them in around the trees and whatnot. This strand is about 12 lights. You could use more or less depending on the size of your project. For another added touch, I did decide to add a little bit of faux snow, again, just to help tie in that base. I also just think it helps it to look like a nice, sweet winter wonderland. But tell me what you think. I love how this turned out, and it actually looks absolutely gorgeous in a bookcase. I have this Christmas Carol book. It is really fun, and this project could not be any easier. All you're going to do is look for a song that you like, and then you're going to use your craft knife and cut it out. This is older. You can see some of the spellings are different than what we know now, but I decided to go with this particular sheet. It's got "Oh Little Town of Bethlehem," and it does have another song on the backside, and that is totally fine. I'm going to be using these matte thermal laminating pouches, and you are going to need a laminating machine. Now I'm going with the matte because I did not want these to be super glossy, but that's just personal preference. You can get these sheets on Amazon. So all you have to do is place your sheet music into your pouch. My sheet music happens to be the exact size I need to fill these pouches, so keep that in mind as well. And now all I'm going to do is just line things up and put my sheet through the laminating machine. And this is great because I can see the song, O Little Town of Bethlehem and All Come Ye Faithful. So I've got two sides to use here. I decided to put this through my machine again because it did have a little bit of a blip on the corner, but this is how I'm using it. I'm using it as placemats, and it's great a way to use those pieces of sheet music or any pieces of book pages that you have, and I think it looks absolutely beautiful. I just wanted to quickly show you how you can gather up some books and remove the dust jackets that are on them. That will reveal some usually pretty nice covers that are underneath. Some of these would be absolutely great as coffee table books, but I'm going to show you how I'm going to be using these books. Now, these two books here are a little bit too big for my particular project, so I gathered up some other books, and you can see they are in red and green. You could do gold or cream, whatever you'd like. I decided to go with this color combination. I've got some different types of books, a sewing book, Christmas books. This is a Reader's Digest garden book. And all I'm going to do is gather them up and start to layer them. I wanted a mix of the greens and the reds together, different sizes. The previous two books that I showed you, they were just a little bit too big for these book stacks, so I decided not to use them, but I just wanted to show you how easy it is just to remove those dust covers to reveal the beauty that these books have underneath. So once you're happy with your stack, you're going to put them upright and you're going to align all the spines of the book forward, making sure that they don't fall over. I'm going to be using this beautiful chiffon ribbon that I got off of Amazon. Use any ribbon that you like. And all I'm going to do is tie a nice long strip of it to wrap around my books. Now, I'm trying to figure out what color to go with. I decided to go with this darker green. And all you're going to do is, like I said, wrap this around and then tie a bow in the front. You could wrap it around several times with some twine if you'd like. Baker's twine would work really nicely too. I just love the vintage feel of this chiffon ribbon. That's why I decided to go with that. And I'm just tying it in a simple bow. You can see I'm leaving the tails nice and long and allowing that to drape. Okay, so this next part, I am going to be cutting down some strips of some cardstock. These are just some scraps that I had in my stash. You can cut them down any width that you'd like, but you can see I'm going to be folding them in half like this, and then I'm going to be folding the tips over one way, and then I'm going to fold those tips over the other way, and then I'm going to open up those tips to create a T. You can see that T shape that I have right here. I'm going to be cutting several of these up, and I'll show you how I'm going to be putting those together here in a moment. Okay, so I've got my cardstock pieces all ready and I've got those set aside. Next, I'm going to be working on my bottle brush trees. I wanted all my bottle brush trees to have wood bases. So I'm going to just show you how you can just cut off a plastic base like this, or you can sometimes just wiggle them right off. Next, you're going to want to just clean up the base of your bottle brush trees. Sometimes you have to fluff them up. Sometimes you're going to have to remove some excess debris that may be falling out. And then all you need to do is glue these to your wood base. I'm going to be quite generous with my wood glue. You can also see I needed to give this particular tree a little bit of a haircut, so I'm going to do that. Next, I'm going to add my hot glue. And then all you have to do is center it on your wood slice, and then you want to make sure you hold your tree while the glue sets, because this can topple over and then you're going to have a really funny looking tree. So now I need to attach those strips of cardstock to the bases of our tree. So you can see I've got quite the selection, and you can see the bases of the T part is too big. But first I wanted to tape the two strips together to the two sides the folded pieces together. That will make it really nice and sturdy. Now, you may have something else that will work really well and you may not need to do that part, but this is what I chose to do. Next, I'm going to round off the T here. And I will do it in a much easier way here in a moment. I'll show you, but this is how I started off. I just started to round off the corners of that little platform, really is what it's going to be. And I'm just cutting it down so it'll fit underneath the base of the wood slice on our tree. So I'm going to add some hot glue. You can see I'm putting that onto the base of our tree, pressing that into place. And now you can see how I've got a tree with a bit of a stand underneath. So here I put my T together and now I'm going to trim them together. That was so much faster than what I was doing before. So I cut that down, and I needed to cut it down so it was small enough to fit underneath that tiny little bottle brush tree. I got that from Dollar Tree. So I did assorted sizes of those trees with those little cardstock tabs, and now all you need to do is put those little tabs in between the pages of your book. I was inspired by something that I had seen on Pinterest, and I thought, how can I recreate it without gluing these trees to my books, but also making sure that this stays nice and sturdy, because sometimes things get bumped around and I didn't want all the trees to fall off. So all you need to do is just open up your book pages, slip that little cardstock piece into the pages. That will allow you to remove those trees when you're done with them. It will also help you to be able to move them around a bit if you need to. You could also add some different figurines as well using those little pieces of cardstock. So I always like the look of some fairy lights. So I'm going to go ahead and add some of these as well. I'm just tucking the battery pack in behind all those books, and I'm going to weave the lights in and around. And that's about it. And I'm going to show you what it looks like on a bookshelf as well. I have got some more Christmas DIYs in this video right here. I want to thank you all so much for joining me today, and we will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.